My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 53 fight card. I'm going to give you my picks, and we're going to talk about DraftKings. We're going to give you people's prices, talk about who's worth the money, who's not worth the money, and who you should have in your lineup. We have a free DraftKings league. Go to wewantpicks.com/DraftKings, hop into the free league, compete with us, compete with the rest of the community, and have some fun. And we're just going to do this in fight order. We're going to start at the bottom and work our way to the top. And opening up the card, we have Tatsuro Taira making his UFC debut, so there's not going to be any data here. And he's taking on Carlos Candelario, and Carlos Candelario coming off Contender Series, so no data here, but I'll leave this up as a backdrop. Tatsuro Taira is the #1 ranked fighter in Japan. He's a pretty well-rounded guy. He's only 22 years old. He does have a good amount of fights. He does have a lot of finishes. And if you have to call him something, you'd probably call him a grappler. He's got some solid striking as well. He's dropped some people and then set up his submissions from there. Carlos Candelario, he's a Northeast guy. He's been coming up for a while, but he did have a 4-year gap in between his fights there. So he took, in 2017, took a couple years off. He's come back. He's coming up a loss in the Contender Series, but I think he was like one of the very first people to get a contract in a losing fight. He's pretty well-rounded. He comes in, he's willing to bang, he's willing to grapple. And style-wise, again, he's well-rounded. He has Golden Gloves experience. He can grapple. And this is a really tricky fight because Tatsuro Taira, we're not going to know how good of a prospect he is until Saturday, right? We're just not going to know. #1 guy in Japan. How good actually is he? And he's taking on Carlos Candelario. Well-rounded guy, not the most technical anywhere, but a well-rounded, tough guy who's willing to slug it out. So I'm not going to touch this one. I do think Tatsuro Taira probably wins, but Jacob likes Carlos Candelario here, and I'm not going to disagree with that. I mean, he's at least proven in the UFC that he can come in here and really make it a dirty, gross, scrappy fight. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to have either one of these guys in my lineup, but certainly at $7,000, there's some value on Candelario there because he is tough. He's not really a guy that's going to be easily finished. And Tatsuro Taira, 10 wins, 9 of them are finishes. Then we got GINA MAZANY taking on SHANNA Young. Here's the breakdown. Very simple. GINA MAZANY is a grappler. She wrestles like crazy. 4 takedowns, 7 takedowns. Loss. I mean, when she can't get the takedowns, she struggles. And frankly, if we look at this fight here, she got 4 takedowns against Kachera and was still KO'd in the second round. So she's a takedown machine, but if you start throwing punches in her face, she turns her head, she backs up, she runs away. She does not want to be hit. She struggles with the striking, but she's a massive favorite, very expensive because of that wrestling. She's taking on SHANNA Young. SHANNA Young gets taken down. She was taken down in her last fight. She's lost all 3 of her UFC fights because of takedowns, because of pressure. So DraftKings, the odds makers are all saying, yeah, GINA MAZANY's going to take her down. And she probably will. But if SHANNA Young gets in GINA's face and pumps out a jab and starts like letting her hands fly, GINA MAZANY's going to turn her head and get TKO'd. And that's just what's going to happen. So if you want to throw SHANNA Young in your lineup at $7,300, hoping that she can just keep her hands busy and make something happen, that's not a terrible play. GINA MAZANY, if she wins this fight, right, if she manages to not get TKO'd, she'll put up a ton of points because it's going to be takedown. Again, she had 7 takedowns in this fight, 138 points. That is possible. But it's also possible that just like her last fight, she gets a bunch of takedowns and then TKO'd. So another fight, I'm probably not going to touch it. It's probably not worth it. Then we got NATAN LEVY taking on Mike BREEDEN. NATAN LEVY, he's a prospect. He's a big-time grappler. Everybody loved him coming into his last fight, except me. I was on the Rafa Garcia side, and he's an aggressive grappler that if he sticks to the grappling and he makes wise choices, he can absolutely win that fight. But he gets aggressive. He overcommits. He chases things and then falls, ends up fighting Kimuras and guillotines. And, you know, in this Rafa Garcia fight, Rafa Garcia took him down a ton of times, controlled him, and just was never in any real danger. And he's taking on Mike BREEDEN. Mike BREEDEN, he's coming off this loss to Hernandez, but that was short notice. He's a good striker. He's got solid range control. He's got solid variety. He's got some power in his hands, but not really enough to like steal a fight, right? It's not like Natan Levy's going to take him down, control him, and then in the third round, Mike Breeden's going to knock him out. So I do like Natan Levy to win here. I think his just constant looking to grapple, the judges are going to like it. It is possible he's actually gets some takedowns, some control time, maybe even a submission. $9,000 is a heavy price to pay for a guy that kind of shit the bed in his last fight. But I do think Natan Levy wins this fight, and it's going to be forward pressure, control time, and those are the types of things that the DraftKings scoring system loves. Then we got Gabe Green, and he's taking on Johan Lainez. Gabe Green, he's a grappler. He's got solid striking, good pressure. He's very comfortable in his striking style where he works and kicks really well. He's slick on the ground. And even if he's the one who's taken down, so let's say you take down Gabe Green, he's always threatening with a submission. He's always looking to set up sweeps and scrambles. He's coming off this really nice win over Philip Rowe. He's taking on Johan Lainez. No official UFC scoring here, but he's a grappler. He can KO you with anything from a check hook to an overhand. His striking's not very technical, but he has some legit power. He wings big, heavy punches while charging forward, and as soon as you get comfortable striking, he will shoot a takedown and work in some grappling. I like Gabe Green to win this fight. I think it's pretty straightforward win for him as well. And we finally have a solid value here, $8,500. I will have Gabe Green in my lineup. Then we have Daniel Da Silva. You may also see him listed as Daniel Lacerda. Excuse me. You may also see him listed as Daniel Lacerda. I have literally no idea why it's Lacerda versus Da Silva. Lacerda's not his nickname. I don't know what that's about, but it's the same person when you're doing your own research. And Daniel Lacerda, he's a good striker. He's got solid kicks, good forward pressure. If he gets to the ground, he's got good control, pressure from top, but his takedowns are not great. So getting it to the ground is kind of a challenge for him. And he's taken on Figueiredo. And yes, this is the brothers champion. He's the younger brother of Davison Figueiredo. Similar fighting styles, but Francisco is just not as good. It's just that simple. But if he does do something better than his brother, it's the grappling. 2 takedowns here, 4 takedowns here. These are 3-round fights, and he really does push that grappling game plan. And a lot of people don't like Figueiredo. They just don't think he's very good. But the reality is, he is a good fighter. People just compare him to his brother. You take his brother out of the equation, you look at him as his own fighter, he's a pretty well-rounded guy. I like Figueiredo to get this done. I think he does push a grappling game plan, and I think he'll grind out a win. So $8,000, I will probably spend that on him. Then we have Alexander Romanov versus Chase Sherman. This is a weird fight because as early as yesterday, it said Chase Sherman was off in DraftKings, and now it's back on. So I don't know what the hell is going on in this fight, but this fight was supposed to happen last week at UFC Vegas 52. Alexander Romanov's original opponent, Tanner Boser, dropped. Chase Sherman stepped up on short notice. Then after the fight card started and your DraftKings lineups were locked in, Chase Sherman dropped. It was brutal. It screwed a lot of people, but thankfully I think it screwed like everybody equally because I'm pretty sure everybody had Romanov in their lineup. Style-wise, Romanov is just a beast of a wrestler. He's going to come charging forward, big power, big pressure, King Kong punches on top when he gets you to the ground. He looked phenomenal on the scales last week. Phenomenal. He looks like he's in great shape. He absolutely 100% should be in your lineup. I understand this is heavyweight fighting, but the reality is Chase Sherman is a volume striker. He does not have the big one-punch knockout power to make something happen. He's going to get taken down. He's going to get ridden out. You want to mess with the betting line of 1.5 rounds? Maybe. Chase is tough. There's an argument there that it can go over 1.5 rounds, but he's not going to win this fight. So I do think Romanov should absolutely be in your lineup. I like him. $9,600 is a ridiculous price to pay, but there's not a lot of people that I'm loving at that more expensive price point. Then we have a Krzysztof Jotko taking on Gerald Meerschaert. This is striker versus grappler. That simple. Krzysztof Jotko, though, he's not really a power striker. Look at this. Decision. Losses are TKOs, but his wins are mostly decisions, right? He's a good technical striker. He's going to light you up with a jab, stick and move, run around in circles, and win that style fight. And he's fighting Gerald Meerschaert. Gerald Meerschaert has built an entire career around getting pummeled and then pulling off a late submission win. These last 3 fights, he's riding 3 submissions in a row. Obviously, he scored well in these 2. He did not score well in this one. And that's because he was getting pounded on. The whole fight just pounded on. And then he pulled off a submission because Stoltzfus took it to the ground. Fabinski took it to the ground. These people took him down, and it makes no sense. When you're dominating the striking, why are you taking Gerald Meerschaert down? And they paid the price for that. The reality is, Krzysztof Jotko is not going to make that mistake. He is perfectly comfortable in a boring decision, jabbing win. So I like Krzysztof Jotko to win this fight. Gerald Meerschaert, he'll always be live for a submission, but Jotko's going to win this fight. $8,800, I don't think he's worth it. 56, 15, 65, 76. Obviously, he's got 98 in this one. You know, I just don't think, and this was with control time because he had takedowns. Those are off the table in this fight. He's not going to do that. I just don't know if he's going to be worth $8,800, even though I'm positive he's going to win this fight. Then we got Darren Elkins taking on Tristan Connelly. Darren Elkins' nickname is the Damage. It's not because he inflicts it. It's because he receives it. This guy has been through wars, has taken beatings, and he does take those beatings. He's so hard to break down because this fight is probably tailor-made for him because he wrestled 7 takedowns against Grigori. He took down Landwehr. He took down Derek Minner, submitted Derek Minner, took down Lamas. I mean, he's working takedowns in every single fight. Pepe 5, Bermudez 3. He's taking people down. He's grinding them out, and that is how you can beat Tristan Connelly. I just feel like Darren Elkins at this point in his career has taken too much damage, and that last fight was bad. That was bad. Cub Swanson lit him up start to finish, and at a certain point, Darren Elkins is going to be on the downslide, but he is tough. He's gritty. He's constantly coming forward, and Tristan Connelly is a guy that you can grind out. That's what Pat Sabatini did. Pat Sabatini, in this loss here, took him down, rode him out, boring fight, but he won that fight, and Darren Elkins could do that to Tristan Connelly. I actually think Tristan Connelly's a pretty live underdog here. I think he can get it done because of Darren Elkins, his age, the damage he's taken at this point. And I know you guys in the comments section are going to say, Darren Elkins is 37, Tristan Connelly's 36. They're the same age. Not fighting-wise. They're not the same fighting age. Years of difference as far as damage is concerned. So I do think Tristan Connelly's pretty live here. I think he can avoid the takedowns. I think he can survive. I think he can absolutely make things happen, get this fight done. I don't know if he's going to stop Darren Elkins, but I do like Tristan Connelly here. $7,600. I was hoping for a better discount, but I do like him. But Darren Elkins, $8,600. If he's going to get 5 takedowns and a stoppage, all of a sudden, he's looking really good. So I can't tell you what to do in that fight. I like Connelly, but it is a tailor-made fight for Darren Elkins. It's just, do you trust him? Do you trust Darren Elkins' chin and his ability to absorb some damage here? That takes us to Grant Dawson versus Jared Gordon. Grant Dawson, he's bouncing around between weight classes. He seems pretty set up at 155 now because he struggled at 145. He looked good in his last fight. That was a draw, but Grant won that fight, right? He had 9 minutes of control time, much higher striking percentage. He won that fight. Before that, he won this fight here. 1 second left in the third round. 1 second left. He pulled that off. And just showing that the guy, he's never out of a fight. He's never out of a fight. He's got a great ground game, absolutely relentless pressure, good technical striking, but definitely grappling is his path. And look at this, he has takedowns in every single one of these fights. 6, 3, 2, 2. And these score really well. DraftKings loves takedowns, loves control time. And he's taken on Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon's a good wrestler in his own right. He has takedowns in pretty much all of his fights, especially his wins. He's got solid pressure, decent striking, and he's another guy who's bouncing between 45 and 55. He's coming off this nice win over Joe Selecki, where a lot of people thought Joe Selecki was going to dominate Jared Gordon with the grappling, but he didn't. He was taken down 4 times and gave up 6 minutes of control time, but he did have a lot of success striking, and that's how he was able to make that happen. I like Grant Dawson to win here, $8,700. Again, it's a lot of money to spend, but I think he's going to get a bunch of takedowns. Joe Selecki took down Jared Gordon 4 times. Grant Dawson's going to do it even more than that and win the fight. Then we've got Andrei Feely taking on Joe Anderson Brito. Andrei Feely, he's a guy we've broken down before, and we've talked about he never really lived up to the hype. He was supposed to be the next big thing out of Team Alpha Male, and he just never made it there. But if we look at who he's fought and when he fought them, the guy's second fight in the UFC was Max Holloway. He's got, this is Yair Rodriguez, Calvin Kattar. They had him fighting killers. They've had him fighting killers for a while. Sadiq Youssef. I mean, so he's got a pretty tough road in the UFC. He's a well-rounded guy. He's got good striking, good grappling, and he's got a really good chin, but he does lean on that chin quite a bit. And he's fighting JOANDERSON Brito is a fast, athletic grappler. He's got solid top pressure, wide array of submissions. He's coming off this close loss to Bill Algeo, where he had 2 takedowns, some solid control time. But it's just, man, it's just so tricky. This fight, I keep going back and forth on who I think is going to win, but I do think that Andre Fili's going to win. I think it's actually going to look a lot like the Bill Algeo fight, where Andre Fili's going to get in some takedowns, make some stuff happen, have the shorter punches, get around JOANDERSON's big looping shots. But JOANDERSON Brito is probably the most live underdog on this entire card. So, you know, working with your lineups and you need yourself a solid underdog, JOANDERSON Brito is probably the guy. Because Andre Fili at 9,300, I don't know. That's a lot of money to spend. But Andre Fili's a very good guy. He's very good. But again, so is JOANDERSON Brito. That's a really tough fight. Then we've got Andrei Arlovsky taking on Jake Collier. Andrei Arlovsky, this fight is exactly like the Vanderaa fight. It's exactly like the Felipe fight. It's exactly like the Sherman fight. It's exactly like the Tanner Boser fight. It's the exact same thing. He is fighting guys who just want to strike, and they're not as talented as he is. It's just literally that simple. He just wins those fights. He out-decisions all of these guys. $8,400, 100% Andrei Arlovsky is going to be in my lineup. This will be a kickboxing match. Andrei Arlovsky is going to bring all of his veteran savvy to the table, and I think he's just going to come forward, strike, ride out these decision wins. 57, 63, 74. It's not the most amount of points, 44. It's actually not a lot at all. I mean, some people in losses are scoring more than 44, but he's like a guaranteed win. I'm positive this guy's going to win this fight. And I'm going to look like an idiot, and you guys will light up my comment section if I'm wrong. But Jake Collier is a middleweight who moved up to light heavyweight and then heavyweight. And Andrei Arlovsky is just going to do what he does. Veteran savvy. If Jake Collier had one-punch knockout power, this would be a whole different case because Andrei Arlovsky is 43, but he does not. Then we got Rob Font taking on Marlon Vera. I'll tell you right now, I'm on the Rob Font side. You guys, you Marlon Vera people, you Cheetah Vera people, you are rabid, lighting up the comments, lighting up our live chat, screaming, cursing, yelling, Cheeto Vera's going to dump. Honestly, there are levels to this. There's the champions, there's the almost champions, then there's like really good, never will be a true contender, then there's just, you know, kind of in the UFC. Rob Font is the almost champion level. Cheeto Vera is the really good, will never truly be a number one contender. That's just the way it is. And you guys are going to light up this comment section, argue all day, back and forth. And what I love about the angry people in the comments is how 100% you're positive about everything. 100%. Cheeto Vera will dominate. You will see. It's so stupid. These are fights. These are fist fights. And anything can happen. The reality is Rob Font is a very good fighter. He has a phenomenal jab, lightning fast hands, and he's in and out of that pocket before you know what's going on. He does well. His only loss here is to Aldo in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights. He lost to a Sun Sao. That's a legitimate, genuine win. A Sun Sao is very good, and he's just beating everybody he's supposed to be. Pedro Munoz, fine. And this is earlier in his career. If we go to our buddy Cheeto Vera here, let's look at his last recent wins. Frankie Edgar was winning that fight. You can argue all you want. Frankie Edgar was winning that fight. Pull up the stats, watch the fight. Cheeto knocked him out, but Frankie's old as hell, taking way too much damage, very chinny. Fine. The Grant fight, okay. Solid decision win. Aldo lost. So did Rob Font, but Rob Font landed 196 strikes to Jose Aldo's 90-something. 100 more strikes he landed, okay? And then the O'Malley fight, he was losing that too. And then O'Malley's leg fell off his body. He got smoked by Song Yadong. I get it. Cheeto Vera is a tough guy. He's got good power in his hands, sneaky grappling if he needs it. Can't really wrestle that well. Not going to be able to take down Rob Font. Rob Font's just going to light him up with jabs over and over and over. That's just the way I see it. You guys can be as angry as you want. We'll check back in on Saturday, Sunday. I'll take the L if I'm wrong. Light up the comment section. That's what you guys do. But I like Rob Font. Rob Font will be in my lineup. And let's just look at how he scores again. I mean, 77 in a loss. A loss. 77. 149 significant strikes. 193 total strikes. He landed 100 more strikes than Jose Aldo. 100 more. He lost the fight because Jose Aldo had insane power, and the power was obvious. But 114, 119, 73, 100, 8,300 bucks. Rob Font is in my lineup. Let me know your picks below. Join our free Discord. We have a Discord. It's 100% free. Argue there. Go there, argue with everybody there, talk about how Chito Vera's going to be the next world champion. Do that on our free Discord. The link is in the description. I'll see you guys on Saturday.